Oh, I know it's after lunch, but we do have sugar over there. I need a little more pep in that step there. Hello, everyone. Oh, so much better. Thank you so much for choosing to be here today. We greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to pause and take a moment to learn and reflect on how we can be more inclusive in our language, how we can be more responsive and respectful to one another, and how we can continue to learn and grow and build our multicultural responsiveness. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Dr. Maura Cullen. She is widely considered one of the nation's foremost authorities on the issues of diversity and inclusion. With over 30 years experience as a trainer, keynote speaker, she has received her doctorate in social justice and diversity education from the University of Massachusetts. She is founding faculty at the Social Justice Training Institute and is the author of 35 Dumb Things Well-Intended People Say. If you do not have that book, we have some copies in the Student Involvement Center in the Office of Diversity and Multicultural Affairs. We hope that you will check one out, and we will be getting some more because they've been so popular. She also has coached basketball and volleyball at the collegiate level. When at a home in Maryland, you will most likely find her skydiving, snowshoeing, swimming with the dolphins, or fire walking. Sounds like my kind of fun. She will be presenting again this evening between 5 and 6:30, a combination of both of today's different topics and workshops. If you did not receive a feedback form, we ask that you please do get one. We need your feedback. We value it. Also, we are funded with ACE dollars, arts and cultural dollars, and we want to make sure that this is the type of programming you want to continue to see. So we want to make sure it's valuable and impactful for you. Furthermore, I want to let you know that I have been using Dr. Cullen's work for a number of years, hence these wisdom highlights up here. When you're in social justice, you can age a little quicker. I'm really young, just so you know. But anyway, I do consider her a leader and what I would call one of my sheroes. And it's an honor and privilege to meet her and get to introduce her to you today. So without further ado, Dr. Maura Cullen.
Thanks, Michelle Joe. That was awful nice. Let's give her a hand. And Avio's not here, and he deserves a big hand as well for planning my visit. Good afternoon. Everyone, take a deep breath. Yeah, welcome. So, how many were at the session right before lunch? Okay. Nobody was here, besides you, the first thing in the morning, right? All right, good. Okay, so what I would like for you to do is to find a buddy. So you might have to move for a second. Oh, you got a buddy? He's got a buddy. Find a buddy and determine a player. No. You don't have to find a buddy. Never mind. At some point, you'll have a buddy. How many of you don't know some of the people in this room? Oh. How many people know the people at their table, though? Well, see how that happens? A little bit of clumping, huh? All right, so don't do that. What I want you to do, well, actually, I had to get the cobwebs out. Find a buddy. I know, I see the face, so find a buddy. All right, you can have 3 buddies. You have 3 buddies.
Michelle and Kiki.
Oh, do you?
I have a buddy.
But you didn't want to be her buddy?
I want to be her buddy.
Oh, but okay. So what I want you to do, but don't talk yet, but eventually, it's nice to have you back. Yes, welcome. Is I want you to think of a problem or challenge that you have in your life. And don't do a deep dive here, gang, okay? Don't get all therapeutic on me, okay? Just a small problem, small challenge that you have in your life. However, you're going to be sharing it with your buddies, so that might inform what it is that you share. But don't share yet. Don't share until I ask you. Think of a problem. Does anyone need more time on their problem? How bad is that, right? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to share your problem or challenge with your buddy. But you're going to be doing it at the same time. So everyone in this room will be yapping at the same time. Now, I trust your inclination would be stop talking, start listening, great skill, not the activity. Your job is you're going to continue to talk until you hear. Now, if you're done describing your problem or challenge before you hear, then rewind it, start again. Don't shut up until you hear this thing. Got it? Go. Yeah, come on. You got it. Keep doing it.
Are we talking at the same time? I guess I don't want to be your buddy. My buddy would know.
Now I see why you didn't want to be her buddy, you know. Woo, problem child, absolutely. Okay, welcome back. How was that activity like the conversations we have around diversity and inclusion?
We're all talking and no one's listening.
Whole lot of talking, not a lot of listening. What else?
We're all talking from our own perspective.
It's all about us. We can only really talk about what we know. I'm going to hurt myself. What else?
Confusion.
Confusion. A little bit of chaos.
It's hard to concentrate. Two sides.
Absolutely, right? And did you find that you had a hard time concentrating, right? Because there was so much noise all around you that even if you wanted to focus on them, it was still going to be challenging, right, to hear them. Same is true in real life. There is chaos all around you. But sometimes it's just not the external noise you hear. Sometimes it's in our head. Meaning, right? Like, oh, I got to leave here by X amount of time. What are we going to have for dinner? Right? And you have this chatter in your head, which means at times you cannot be fully present when you speak to someone else. How many of you were able to pick up snippets of what your buddies were saying? All right. Right? This happens in real life too, because what happens is we come in and out of conversations all the time. Like you'll do it when I'm speaking, right? You'll zone out for a minute and you'll come back and it's like, is she still talking, right? And what we do typically is take the parts that we do hear and we glue them together. And we think we have your message. That can be dangerous. Because what happens is I'm going to use the same sentence verbatim. All I'm going to do is change some of my body language, my voice intonation. See if you hear this message differently, okay? The sentence is, I never said you were stupid, okay? I never said you were stupid. I never said you were stupid. I never said you were stupid. Are those different messages? Yes. So even if you hear every word I say, which is not likely, it still doesn't mean you get what I say. And then you add any different kind of cultural components to that, and do you see how a lot can go wrong in a little time?
Yes.
You know? Because what happens is, yeah, yes, sing it, yes.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah. Because we all mess up. It's not a question of if we're going to mess up and say the wrong thing. It's how often we do it. And most importantly, is when we do mess up, is how do we deal with it. And that's in part why I wrote the book. I tell people, I wrote the book, so I have said most of these things contained within 35 Dumb Things. What I have learned through the grace and kindness and patience of many people is they let me know that even if my intentions were well, that the things I was saying was still missing the mark. And instead of forging the bridge that I thought I was doing, I was actually breaking the bridge. And so my intention in writing the book and sharing this is to do just that, is to make sure that we're not blowing up bridges that we think we're building. Go ahead, say it. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt. Lies, right? Lies, lies. Why? Because words hurt. Is there anyone here who has not been a little hurt by a word that someone said? Yeah. We've all been hurt by words. So there's this whole thing about political correctness, right? And people use it very often as a strategy, is to shut you up. All right? They want to shut you up. They'll say, oh, don't be so PC. I mean, it's always an accusation. It's not meant as a compliment. People don't say, you know, I love that you're PC. You know, they don't say that. It's always seen as like a bad thing, or they want you to think it's a bad thing. This is how I make sense of PC, political correctness. If there are words I use or jokes I tell that I know have a higher likelihood of causing someone pain, I am simply not going to say those things. If that is politically correct, then I am pleased as punch to be politically correct. I cause enough unintentional harm. I don't need to do this stuff on purpose. Agreed? But there's this saying, when you pick up one end of the stick, you automatically pick up the other end of the stick. And all of us have been on both ends of the stick. Raise your hand if you've ever been so afraid of saying the wrong thing that you've said nothing at all. And that's the other end of the stick. That we're so afraid of messing up, what happens is we tend to clump with people who we think we have less of a chance of screwing up with. And those people tend to look and think a lot like ourselves. That makes sense, right? I mean, we typically are pretty logical beings. But the thing is this, is by doing that, what happens is we stay in our little silos, right? We stay in our groups. Sticking with your clump of people is not the problem. The problems are is when we exclude people from our groups, judge people from the other groups, or be so afraid to join other groups. That's when problems start to arise. What do you see? Help each other see me and you if your buddies and neighbors are having a hard time. Both me and you are in there. The me is in brown. I will leave this up for those of you who are abstractly challenged, okay? Give you a little more time on that one. But the reason I have this is in order for us to make like a connection, I have to be able to see you in me and me in you. And what I mean by that is, how many of you have ever blurted something out that you regret saying? I mean, some of us have even done it today, right? So when you blurt something out that you regret saying, in that moment, what do you want from that other person? Forgiveness, absolutely. What else? To forget about, like never mind, like they didn't hear, like no, right? What else? No judgment.
You still probably want your point to be heard, just not in the same way.
Okay. So you want the message to be heard, but differently. And to kind of trust my intent, that I didn't intentionally try to hurt you. Okay? That's what we want when we mess up. Flip the stick. Have you ever, like, has someone ever been hurtful or offensive to you? What do you want from them in that moment? Yeah, shut up, right? Be quiet, save yourself, right? To be quiet, what else? To apologize. And it has to be a sincere apology. Would you agree? It's not like, I'm sorry, right? We've all seen that, I'm sorry, right? which just made it worse. And then we'll say, well, what are you sorry for? Right? Right? So it has to be sincere. Okay? Anything else we want from them when they have hurt or offended us?
Maybe some clarification, why did they say that?
Yeah. Clarification, like, what were you thinking of? Why did you say that? Where are you coming from?
Not making excuses.
Don't make excuses. Own it. Accept responsibility. Right? That's seeing both ends of the stick, seeing the you and me, helps us to gain a little insight to the other person, whichever end of the stick they may be on. Does that make sense? Okay, intent versus impact. And if you want this PowerPoint, text my name, M-A-U-R-A, to this short code, 95577, and you'll get a little response, and then then you get it, I think, in the morning. And you're also signed up for my monthly newsletter. What? And you can unsubscribe anytime you want, but I don't know why you would. Okay, here we go. Intent versus impact. Can well-intended people cause harm? Yes. Absolutely. So let's say for a minute, did you say your name is Orlando?
Alfredo.
It's Alfredo. Thanks. Let's say as I'm walking around, I accidentally step on Alfredo's foot, and you might say, very good. You see, they're helping you out. Gosh, it sounded like it came from there, but, right? So he says, ow, and I say, hey, I didn't intend to hurt you, Alfredo. Does that mean his foot doesn't hurt? No. His foot still hurts, even if I didn't intend to hurt him. So then we're getting up and we're going out, and somebody neglects to hold the door, and it goes bang on his foot, right? Same foot, once, twice. Then he goes downstairs to grab a bite to eat, and one of you clowns have a plate full of food, bump into him, and it falls all on that foot. Say boom, boom, boom. Now he's like, but he doesn't want to flip out. So what he does is he takes that hurt, that pain, that frustration, and he squishes it down. Have you ever done anything like that? Right? Then it's like tick, tick, tick. And he goes home this evening. Somebody hands him a napkin, falls on that foot. Kaboom. He's like, what's wrong with you? Can't you see I have feet? Why do you have to hurt me? Right? And if you're the one that dropped the napkin, you look at him thinking, freak. I mean, right? Because I only dropped the napkin. Would he be guilty if you took a snapshot of just seeing the napkin fall on his foot? Would he be guilty of overreacting? Yeah, he would. But if you had seen a video of his day, would you be a little more understanding? That's a day in the life of Alfredo's foot. Now imagine a lifetime, so to speak, of feeling stepped on, right? That somehow you're told you're not good enough or smart enough or thin enough or handsome enough or athletic enough or whatever enough. Then one day, somebody tells a joke or they use a particular word, they don't mean anything by it. But just because they don't mean anything doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Because what ends up happening is we go from that to this. This pile-on principle begins, where things just stack up, and one of two things are going to happen. Either we're going to explode or we're going to implode. It's that simple. Unless we learn how to kind of deal with the little things that come up every day. Because people are highly overrated. They can drive you nuts sometimes. But it's several interactions. How many of you ever heard of microaggressions? Right? It's all those little things that start to stack up, that kind of last straw on the camel's back kind of saying, that really makes all the difference. Okay. In the book, I mentioned 35 dumb things. These, I really need to count them. There's, I don't know, maybe 7 here. Of my favorite dumb things, or the ones that you hear more commonly. Now, I'm not suggesting you can never say these things, so don't go there. What I am suggesting, however, is you probably don't ever want to lead with these statements. That will usually get you in a bit of hot water. okay? So the first one, some of my best friends are fill in the blank, you know. Some of my best friends are Korean or Jewish or black or whatever, right? What might the intention be? Because I want you to get this intent versus impact, because if you get that concept, that one concept, intent versus impact, you get more than most people. So what might the intention be, the well-intended piece of somebody who might say that?
Build similarity.
Build similarity, like we have this in common, right? Why might somebody not be so pleased with that? Singled out, and then that whole group. So what you've done is made me one giant stereotype, right? Because some of my best friends are, right? I know how to deal with you, right here, me and you. Because it's like if I know one of you, I know how to treat all of you. Is that what this person means? I doubt it. But do you see how it might impact someone that way? Again, well-intended, but you just blew up the bridge. Now, yeah. I know exactly how you feel. How many of you have ever been annoyed someone has said this to you? But it's well-intended. What's the problem? Yeah, you don't. And it really is that simple. What's the worst word there? Exactly, right? You could maybe get away with, I know how you feel, or I kind of know how you feel. Throw exactly in there, deal breaker. Deal breaker. Are there ways, and this is a conversation flipper. As soon as these words come out of our mouth, now you're going to tell me how it happens to you too, right? So we're not even talking about me anymore. Now we're talking about you. Usually not a fan fave, okay? Are there ways to get these kind sentiments across, because I think for the most part they are pretty kind, that won't get you caught in that trap? Anyone?
You want an example?
Yes.
Oh. I mean, you can say, that sounds difficult, or, I mean, just reflective act.
Reflective. So that sounds hard, that sounds difficult, challenging. What else? Good start.
Something similar.
Something similar, but you have to make sure it's late enough, because just don't let it turn into a conversation flipper at that point, right? Because at some point, it may be very helpful for them to hear that something similar has happened. Because, right, because at other times, have people saying, I know how you feel, actually felt good? Right? Sometimes it feels like it's joining, like I'm not the only one this has happened to. But there's also the chance of it not going so good. You know, typically, you know, I might say, you know, I can't even imagine what that must be like, or I can only imagine, or what is that like? What's it like? Do you see how you can still spread the kindness, but not fall into the trap? I don't think of you as fill in the blank. When we say that, what exactly are we thinking about in that moment? Yeah, right? The thing we're saying we're not thinking about, we're thinking about it. Okay? So I'm lesbian, and at times people have said this, you know, Maura, I don't think of you as lesbian. You know, I'm not sure what to do with that. You know, like, it kind of just like sits there. But one time, after one of the sessions, a session like this, a man came up to me and he said this. And he didn't mean any harm. You know how you can tell usually if people mean you harm. Excuse me. But that wasn't what was going on for him. So he said this, you know, I don't think of you as lesbian. But my face must have tweaked a little bit because he felt the need to fix it, okay? He said, no, he said, you know, I just think of you as like a regular person. Right? So now I know the eyebrow has gone up, right? And he's astute enough to see this. But now he's going to kick it up to DEFCON 1, okay? He's going to try to fix the fix. And we have all been there, right? We get into this. He said, no. I mean, I just think if he was like normal. And I said, shh. It's okay. It'll be okay. And I remember going like this because I needed him to get a visual that I needed him to calm down. And I slowed and softened my speech. Why? Because I've been on the other end of that stick. I've been where he's been. Where I've said something and I panicked and I made it worse. I couldn't get out of it, right? And I wasn't smart enough just to cut and, you know. I've been there. So I gave to him what I would hope somebody would give to me. But he failed to close the loop. What I mean by that is if he had said something like, you know, Maura, I am so sorry. I heard this stuff coming out of my mouth and I panic and I know I made it worse. How are you? Do you think that would have made a difference? 2 sentences. That's it. This stuff doesn't take a lot of time. What it does take is some presence and noticing. But he didn't do that. So sometimes people, what happens sometimes is when people step on us or hurt us, right? Somehow they expect us to comfort them. Have you ever seen this dynamic in life? And unfortunately and understandably, the people who are down here, who's just got stepped on, we do comfort them. I see this a lot around race. You know, so a white person might say something that is racist, thus kind of stepping on somebody's foot. And when we mess up, we want this person to say, it's okay, I know you didn't mean anything, right? That is messed up. Say what?
I said, like, how you were doing that, unless that person builds a wall. Does that make sense?
No.
I was
Say,
interpreting differently.
no, good. Interpret away.
I mean, for example, if someone was to step all over me, I wouldn't want to step all over them. I would want to, like, build a wall to, like, leave me alone type of thing.
You want to buffer a wall to protect yourself,
Yeah.
Leave my number.
right? To protect ourselves. The thing is this. As a white woman, if I figuratively step on your foot, okay? Sometimes you build that wall just not from Maura, but because it may have happened a lot in your past, it might just become white women. Do you get that? Do you understand how that might happen? And do you see how that might not be fair to either one of us? But what happens is when we get hurt by a group consistently, we either fight, flight, or build that wall. So let's do a physical analogy. Let's say for a minute, and thank you for that. Thank you. Let's say that you're crossing the street, okay? And you're doing everything right. You know, you're in the crosswalk, you look both ways, you're not on your devices, you're waiting for the little blinky thing so you can go across. You're doing everything right. Good job. Then me, I'm in my car, right? Distracted driver, mayhem, okay? And I mow you over, right? Ba-doom, ba-doom, right? And I get out of the car, and there you are underneath my car, and I say, hey, I didn't intend to hurt you. I'm thinking you don't care about my intention. What you're feeling is the impact of my actions, correct? Right? Logically thinking, in real life, I wouldn't do that. I'd call 911, I'd get help, I'd try to ease the pain, right? I'd stay there even though you were hurt. If we could just transfer some of those same very techniques to our emotional harm, do you see how that might work? But what happens is we expect the person we just ran over to comfort us. And then in real life, we want to cut and run. We think sometimes, oh, I'm sorry, is like, I can go now. When the thing is we have just caused pain. And we have to stay sometimes with people's pain because they're used to us running away and to accept responsibility. Does that make sense? We get it in the physical example. It's a little harder when it's not a physical example. That happens to me too. So my sarcastic self wants to say, so what? Right? Who cares? But what happens in real life, so one of these sessions, and a man of Middle Eastern descent was talking about his experience about going through airports and being randomly selected for extra security screening. And he said it really hit me hardest when my wife and 2 kids experienced this. And so this, what I believe is very well-intended white man said, you know what, the same thing happens to me too. Well, how many of you have ever received any extra screening? Yeah, me too, so I believe him. However, does it mean it's for the same reasons, to the same frequency, to the same veracity? Probably not. And the thing about this is like the trifecta. First, this is a conversation flipper, right? Because when these words come out, now you're going to tell me how it happens to you too. So once again, we're not even talking about me, we're talking about you. And we totally dismiss what this man's experience is. Because guess what? If it happens to me too, it can't be happening to you for the reasons you think it is. It has nothing to do with racism. You're being paranoid because it happens to me too, and I'm white. So do you see how we totally minimize that person's experience? Okay. Turn to a buddy, A and B, figure it out. If you have a 3-person team, the person in the middle is A. There it goes. All right. Player A, form a tight fist, please. And if you're a 3-person, the person in the middle, you would form 2 tight fists. So each person would have their own fist. So you got to give him a fist. Yeah, there you go. All right. Player A has a tight fist. Which of you are player A? Because you both have tight fists. Oh.
You don't?
I'm just checking your work. Here to serve.
Okay.
So only her has. Which one of you are A?
I am.
Player A. So you got the tight fist. You don't.
Okay.
Okay. So player A has a tight fist. Player B, your job, open their fist now. Now. Open her fist. Open her fist. Okay, stop. How many of you are successful in opening their hands? Nice job. We had it here, right? What did you do?
Let her.
You let her. Okay.
I didn't know I was supposed to resist.
Well, maybe you weren't supposed to.
Yeah. I interpreted.
Although it was the rules to say, well, I said open their, nah. Did anyone else get them to open up their fist? I should have asked you. I should have asked. Right? That's what we're looking for. The easiest, most effective way, short of opening the hand without, is to ask people. Do you see what is common sense is not always common practice? Did you notice that the harder you tried to rip their pinkies or wrench their thumbs or pull their digits off, the harder their fist became? That's called the clue, right? That what you're doing is not working. Begin anew. Do something differently. I think we all have fallen guilty sometimes of like, we're doing the same thing over and over. We're like, it's not working. Well, stop doing it that way. Try something different. And when we have conversations around difference and inclusion and social justice and discrimination, I think sometimes we're having the same conversations in the same manner and they're not working. And we have to shift it up. We have to change the way we're having the conversations. All right. How's everyone doing? How you doing? I don't see color, I'm colorblind. Stop it. That's it. Stop it. That's so gay, that's so retarded. So I have nieces and nephews fond of saying these things. And they know what I do for a living, for all the good it has done. And I'll say to them, you guys are killing me when you say this. And they were like, well, Auntie, we don't mean anything by it. Well, how many times have I been saying, just because you don't mean it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. If I step on your foot, right? I mean, who wants an aunt like that? So I say, listen, it is this simple. These phrases are never intended as compliments. It's not like someone goes up to you and say, hey, you are so retarded. And you're like, finally someone acknowledges it, right? No, they're always intended as slights or derogatory remarks. So then my niece says, well, Auntie, sometimes it just slips out. I'm like, nope, not buying that one either. Let's say everyone here, we're going to go volunteer at the Special Olympics. I'm going to bet a lot of money that the phrases, that's so retarded or you're a retard, probably are not going to come out of your mouth that day. Would you agree? So don't tell me it just slips out. Because if you can stop it for one day, you can stop it, period. And we have to stop it. Because there are a lot of people we're mowing over with our words. And do you have to be a member of one of these groups in order to be offended? No. No. And for our gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender youths, particularly those who are just coming out, and they have to hear this crap every day, no wonder they have a higher rate of suicide than any other group. It starts to pile up, and they implode. Suicide. Can't be mowing people over with our words. And then the last one, so how many is that? So next time I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 7, lucky 7, lucky 7. Okay. Where are you really from? Who gets asked this at a disproportionate level? What groups of people?
Us, politicians.
Even more specifically than people of color. No. That's a what are you? Right? They're cousins, but the where are you is different than what are you. Both are equally insulting. Would you agree? Because can you imagine people saying, like, what are you, really? Right? Like, how does one respond to that? How many people have ever had that said to you? What are you? Right? Like, it's kind of like, I don't think of you as like, what are you? It's like, eh. But where are you really from? If we were to kind of even take more than people of color and fine-tune it, who might get asked more?
People with accents.
People with accents, and people typically of Asian descent. And people always assume there's only like one group of people within Asian. Right? So this, I'm going to throw up a video. And this is taken from YouTube. It's called What Kind of Asian Are You by Ken Tanaka. And perhaps some of you have seen it. You can enjoy it again.
Hi there.
Hi.
Nice day, huh?
Yeah, finally, right?
Where are you from? Your English is perfect.
San Diego. We speak English there.
Oh, no. Where are you from?
Well, I was born in Orange County, but I never actually lived there.
I mean before that.
Before I was born.
Yeah, like, where are your people from?
Well, my great-grandma was from Seoul.
Korean. I knew it. I was like, she's either Japanese or Korean. But I was leaning more towards Korean.
Amazing.
Yeah. Hamshasina. There's a really good teriyaki barbecue place near my apartment. So I actually really like kimchi.
Cool. What about you? Where are you from?
San Francisco.
But where are you from?
Oh, I'm just American.
Really? You're Native American?
No, just regular American. Oh, well, I guess my grandparents are from England.
Oh, well. Hello, Governor! What's all this then? Top of the morning to you. Let's get a small tea. Double, toil and trouble. Mind the gap! Beware, Jack the Ripper! Bloody hell! Pip! Cheerio! I think your people's fish and chips are amazing.
You're weird.
Really? I'm weird? Must be a Korean thing.
So, sometimes we are like this man, right? We're well-intended, we're even trying to be friendly, mean no harm. And he kept stepping on her foot, but was totally clueless. And then when she flipped the script, all of a sudden she's the weird one. But he had no real self-reflection about how he just did the same thing. And that self-reflection is pretty important, you know, please.
You said that question happens often with people with accents. I've noticed that it's more when the person doesn't fit the stereotype in their mind. So it's when a lot of times accent doesn't fit what
Absolutely.
they think they should sound like. That it's like where really are you from is assuming that you're lying. It's like you say something and it's like that's not good enough.
See, and it's like you take the words out of my mouth, right? See, there's never a problem when asking somebody where are they from. You know, I mean, it's just a common way that we connect, right? That's not the problem. It's when people tell you where they're from, believe them. Yeah, and not say, no, where are you really from? Like you've caught them in a lie and like, ha, I'm not that stupid, right? Now, if it's about the accent, which because sometimes if you have an accent and regionally it doesn't seem to fit, then that's a different question. Versus, no, where are you really? Because you make them other. Like, no, you're not from here, you're other, you're from outside. Okay. Now, I'm going to throw up the next image. And if you could, it's going to ask you to count the letter F's, okay? Count it in your head by yourself. Don't count out loud. Don't use your fingers. You got this, okay? So count the letter F's. Please do not count the yellow one. Don't count that. Has everyone gone through at least once? Please raise your hand if you saw only 2 F's. 3, 4, 5, 6. You all saw the same thing, right? You all saw the same thing. And there was folks who saw as few as 2 and as many as 6. This is what happens in real life. We can see the same thing, but we see it very differently. There are 6, and there they are. A lot of people miss the obs. So my 6s, you're feeling pretty good about yourselves, right? Like 6, 3, really? 3, right? And we become these condescending jerks. Have you ever been around somebody who was a little smarter than you, and they made sure you knew it? Does your willingness and or ability to learn from them increase or decrease? Decrease. Yeah. Other end of the stick, have you been around somebody a little brighter than you, and somehow they still made you feel brilliant? They're like, that's a great question. And you're like, yeah, right? Everyone here possesses knowledge and information and experience that the rest of us could benefit from. How we share that information sometimes determines whether or not people actually learn anything from it. Explain ways. How many women here have ever gone car shopping? What's that like? It sucks, yeah, right? It doesn't, right? It's not, like here it is, we're going to get a new car. We should be excited. And we're excited at the end, but not the process. Why? Because we always feel like people are dumbing down stuff for us. Right? Like empty vessel between the ears. Right? And they're like 3 cup holders. Bonus, right? And men, you probably have the opposite experience where you're assumed to know everything there is about this car. They even pop the hood for you and you're like, shiny, right? So, I was going car shopping. I'm going to go to 3 dealerships. Get to the first one. You know, they all have glass fronts to them, right? So they can see you. So I drive onto the lot, and there are 3 men who I assume to be sales folks in the showroom. And they see me, and I see them. So we see each other, right? I park the car. I start to look at some of the cars. And I figure a couple of minutes, one of them will come out. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nobody's moving a muscle. So now I'm like, So, let's go back to Alfredo's foot. It's as though I'm coming into this situation with a broken leg. Why? Because of all my past negative experiences. Does that make sense? Pile on, pile on, pile on. Okay? So they're not coming out, so I'm going in. So I go into the showroom, and they're drinking their coffee. They hear the door. They do this. They go, boom, boom. Right? I go up to them, right? And in all the sarcasm I can muster, which is a great deal, I say to them, do you think one of you could help me? Now, take a snapshot. Do you think there's a particular word that might be coming to mind for those men in the moment? Probably. Do I get it? Yeah, I don't like it, but I get it. Do you think they get why I just went kaboom? No, and I'm not sure they really even care. Or they'll think, time of the month, right? Now, I think all of this is happening to me. Why? Because I'm a woman, okay? That's how I see my world. I want you to explain away. Come up with some reasons why that had nothing to do with sexism. And be creative. The computers were down. Can't do anything. They weren't salespeople. Who knows? There are other customers, right? Just enjoying coffee. What else?
They already met their quota.
They met their quota, so they're a little on the lazy, unmotivated side. I was there a little too early before they opened. Could any of these things be true? Could what I believe be true? But it's not like we really ever find out, right? It's not like you go up to this guy and say, hey, I see what's happening here. There is some sexism up in this house, right? And the men are like, you know what? Most women are too stupid to realize that, but you're a smart one, you know? No. But what does happen is I take my consumer dollars and I go elsewhere. And those men haven't any idea of how their lack of curiosity or knowledge has cost them money. Half of their customers are women. Half. If they don't know what half their customers experience at their place of work, then they are incompetent. And we should take our money and go elsewhere. I go to the next dealership. Same thing happens. But this guy says, why don't you bring your husband back? Yeah, right? This guy hasn't any idea what he just stepped into, right? And I said, you know what? I don't have a husband. I said, I have a wife, but we're not going to be purchasing our car from you. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, how do I win in that, right? And so I get to the final dealership, and I dealt with all men, and this fella comes out, and he greets me. And he said, hi, my name is yada yada. How can I help you today? Oh, right? I bought my car from him. I'm not talking about creating unreasonably high standards, right? The guy said, hi, how are you? How can I help you? But he was the first one that showed me any semblance of respect. We all know what respect looks like. We know what it doesn't look like. That is a solid foundation. You see, because when we mess up, not if, when. If we mess up, but somebody knows that we still respect them, they will give us the benefit of the doubt more times than not. Make sense? Because sometimes we make it harder than it needs to be. All right. Everyone, take a deep breath. I just like taking breaths. This typically ends up being the biggest takeaway for most folks. And feel free at any point, not that you have to rush now, but you're welcome to go over there and grab stuff as you feel you would like. So, bar. When conversations start to get a little awkward or heated, I want you to think of this acronym. I don't want you to go to the bar. I want you to think of the acronym, okay? You were so in, right? And the first thing I want you to do is to take a deep breath. One more time with me. When we take a deep breath, what happens? It's simple. We relax, right? Step 2 is I want you to acknowledge what the other person is saying. In order for me to acknowledge what you are saying, do I have to agree with you? Critical distinction. Most of us, we want to be heard, right? We want to know that you will at least have heard us. We know we're not always going to get our way, but we do expect for you to listen. And that's what acknowledging does. And step 3 is to respond. Illustration. I was given a workshop much like this, and at some point, one of the participants didn't like the fact that I'm lesbian. And so he stood up, he told me I was going to hell, that I was a sinner, that I had no right to be, you kind of see the direction of that. So, so I needed to take a deep breath, okay? And don't make an event out of this, like, right, because that sends a different message. So when he finished his rant, now I needed to acknowledge him. I said, first of all, I want to acknowledge that took a lot of chutzpah, that took a lot of guts for you to say. Do the rest of you agree? And they're like, I said, in fact, I grew up hearing and believing many of the same things you just said. And in fact, you're probably not the only one in this room who believes that. And even if you were, there's a gazillion people outside this room who would support you. Did I do a good job of acknowledging him? Outstanding, right? So now it was my turn to respond. And I said, you know what? Our experiences around this particular topic couldn't be more different. Why might I have said around this particular topic? Please.
Well, because it turns out that you might not be different in everything.
Yeah. There's got to be something that we have in common. Probably a lot we have in common. He and I are never going to be best buds, right? I mean, that myth is just too far. However, I know there are things we have in common, right? It might be, you know, we both have kids, or we both experienced divorce, or we both like a certain sports team, or I don't know what it is, but I know there's something we can agree upon. And why that is important is we have to be able to tether ourselves to one another, because that gives us the opportunity for civility. Without civility, there is war and conflict. So that's, it's where we tolerate one another. I mean, no one wants to just be tolerated, right? But it's better than some of the other options. It's better than some of the other options. So at least find something to tether. But what happens is we usually do this in reverse, which is not so good. Step one, instead of respond, what do we do that begins with an R? React. What's the difference between respond and react?
They win.
They win. You lose, they win. And thought. Right? When we react, it's more visceral, right? It's out of emotions. We end up in jail, right? But when we respond, it's more thoughtful. We can take a moment, and it's like, okay, decompress. Step two, instead of acknowledge, what do we do that begins with an A? That's closer. I say attack. And then we get around to breathing. Done this? Mm-hmm. So, here's your choice. This raising the bar, this BAR, has changed the quality of my life. And I learned it that day with that person. Because as I reflected back on that day, I was like, that actually went pretty well. What did I do? And so I went backwards so I could replicate it. Whenever you do something well, you want to try to replicate it. That means you have to break down what you did. And the same as when something went awful, reflect what went wrong so hopefully you won't replicate that. So this time I want you to take one last deep breath. But when you take it this time, I want you to try to speak. Go for it. It's impossible. You see, taking a deep breath serves three vital functions. One, it relaxes you at a time you probably need to chill out a little bit. Two, it buys you enough time for that one cohesive thought so that you just don't blurt something out that you're going to regret. And three, it is impossible for you to say anything that you might regret. Taking a deep breath should be our default setting. When you don't know what to say or you think you're going to blow your top, take a breath. I promise you, it'll make all the difference. Okay, so see, when you do back-to-back things, you don't always know, like, I don't know, what did I do with this group? So I don't know, but that's okay. So what I would like, no. Have you ever noticed where sometimes a certain group of people, they could tell a particular joke or use a particular word, it's fine. A different group of people say the same stuff, not so fine. Have you ever noticed that? Okay. How many of you have siblings? How many of you ever made fun of them? As we have smiles on our face. Yeah, that's me. So let's say you're speaking poorly about one of your siblings to a friend of yours, right? The very next day, you hear this friend telling some other people about your sibling, saying the same thing you said the day before. And you're like, what are you doing? And your friend said, well, you said the same thing yesterday. And we say, yeah, but that's my brother or that's my sister. You see, when you're in the family, there's one set of rules, right? If you're outside that family, there is a different set of rules. Is it right, wrong, fair? Who cares? Do not waste your time on that. Those are the rules. Violate them at your own peril, and there is a lot of risk. Does that mean everyone within that group believes the same thing? No. But if you're not from that group, my best suggestion, just don't go there. Barry Switzer has a great quote. Some people are born on third base and go through life thinking they've hit a triple. There is no better, I think in my estimation, quote that describes privilege as this does. So, but a lot of people don't like that word privilege, or people say, check your privilege. You know, and a lot of people don't like when people say, check your privilege. You know, like, it's not engaging. You still make a point, but if your greater goal is to engage, then you're going to miss the mark. So I'm keenly aware that a lot of people get defensive around the word privilege. And of course, those people are the people with privilege, duh, right? So instead, because language is powerful, I instead use advantage, disadvantage. People can get that, right? Some of us are given advantages in life. Most people can buy that, right? And so let's say for a moment that all of us, no. Let's say that I was born on third base for the sake of illustration, and pretty much like I think I was in life. Let's prepare this a little better. Would you agree there's some people in life that are treated at this level and others treated at this level? All right. When we think here in the United States, when we think of issues of race, what group is here? White folks, right? And who's here? Everybody else, right? When we think of religion, who's here? Christians. Everyone else. When we think of gender, cisgender males, everyone, you get the idea, right? And many of us have the experience of sometimes being here and sometimes being there. It's like being on both ends of the stick. Hopefully that gives you a little insight for when you're the opposite. So anywho, so let's say I was born on third base. And let's say that you were not. Your journey would look a little more like this. These days now, we have to pay to play, right? It's not like when many of us were kids where they just gave you stuff and go play. Nope, you got to have the financial resources. If you do not have the financial resources, you don't even get into the game. So a lot of people start to fall through the proverbial cracks, right? Then if you have the ability or the resources to play, now you have to make the team. More people falling through the cracks. If you make the team, then you got to get into the starting lineup. If you get into the starting lineup, you're actually going to have to make a hit. So maybe you finally get around to third base, and no wonder you're tired. And there I was, born there, like, hey, right, all chipper and had this positive attitude, like, hey. See, we all landed here at the same destination. But it doesn't mean your journeys were even close to being similar. Some of you had more challenges placed in front of you. You had to work a little harder. Is it my fault I was born on third base? No, it's not. But I don't look to assign blame. What I do look to create is a sense of you've got to know when you've been given advantages. Because when you're given advantages, it means someone else doesn't have them. And so I still go to practice every day. I run my sprints. I take my bet. Because when people say, check your privilege, it's as though you're accusing me that I don't work hard enough. That's how it feels. But you know what? Some people really do have to work a little harder, depending on the circumstances of which they have been given. Does that make sense? So then there's this thing called Could you stand up for a moment, please? And just stretch for a minute. We don't have all that long to go. How long do we have to go? How many?
18 minutes.
18? Okay. I'll stick to your 18. My watch is stuck on Eastern time. It throws me off. All right, sit down. So, I believe Prince William to be the poster boy of privilege. What did Prince William do to become prince?
He was born.
Yeah, he was born. He didn't, do a lot. Do you think some days Prince William wishes he wasn't prince? Yeah, right? Because he must be burdened with it sometime. But the thing is he is always going to be prince. He can't change that. He can't just give away his privilege. However, what he does with it, that's the big question. And I believe this royal family, and I might be naive, but I believe that they use their advantages for the greater good. That's all you can do with the privileges and advantages you have been given in your life, is to use the resources you have for the greater good. Equal versus equitable. This is an important concept to get. Because here in the United States, we think treating people equally is like the highest standard. And it's not. It's that simple. It's a good standard, one we still haven't quite reached, but we're moving closer to. So what it means is this. Treating you equally means I'm going to buy everyone here a brand new pair of shoes. And those shoes are going to be a size 7 women. Well, some of you are like, okay. But most of you are like, yeah, not so much. So then what we're going to do is we're going to do a 100-yard dash. And in order for you to participate, you have to be wearing those shoes on your feet. So 100 yards back. And up here are some great, great prizes. $50 million pot of money, dream job, dream spouse, not too late to upgrade kind of stuff, right? So the gun goes off and you all start to run. Are the best runners necessarily going to win? No. I dare say some of the best runners are never going to win. Why? Because I set some of you up to succeed at the expense of others of you. Do you see where I'm going? You see, in real life, some of us are set up to succeed more than others. And at times we did nothing to earn that privilege. It just is. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag Blue Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter. All right. Have you noticed that some people don't really appreciate the All Lives Matter? Well, it's well intended, right? I mean, all lives matter. Yeah, all lives do matter. Then what's the problem? There it is, right? It deflects the attention. We have co-opted the conversation. And I don't know if it was intentional or not. I don't know. I don't know what the intention is, but impact always trumps intent. And the impact means we're not talking about Black lives mattering. Now we're just talking about which one we should use. And so we're not talking about it. It's like any problem. If you want to focus, if you want to fix something, you have to focus on that problem. And on Black Lives Matter, that's what it is. It's just taking a microscope and zooming in on it. And so when people throw in the All Lives Matter, it's like, right? And so now we were fighting about use of language, but not really focusing on the problem. So some people say, Maura, we have a black president, so we're post-racial, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, okay. Race still matters. How many of you have ever been pulled over by the police? Yeah, I know. How can they get it wrong so often, right? So when I'm pulled over by the police, hypothetically, 6 times, right? When I'm pulled over, I wouldn't want to be anyone but a middle-aged white woman. You feel me here? You get where I'm coming from? Who don't I want to be? I don't want to be black. Any other race. It's kind of like like a target, right? And there's the bullseye, and then there's the next, right? And
Want to be driving like an SUV or something.
so there's, folks of color, you just have different lines on that target. And then you add age, socioeconomic status. Say what?
Citizenship status.
Exactly. Okay? And do you see how the target? So I'm loving that I'm a middle-aged white woman. You see, when I get pulled over, my end game is I want to get out of this without a ticket. That's my end game. When folks of color, particularly young folks, men of color, when they get pulled over, their end game is to get out with their lives. Their lives. And you think race doesn't matter? Where's the rock you have been under? Race matters.
I feel like I would, just for survival, like if I was in a black neighborhood, I would prefer to be black. If I was, like I see, what'd you say, you were Samoan? Did someone say that? Or you're Samoan? Anyway, I see Samoans and they're like super family, and I'm like, that's so awesome. We suck. Or like we'll see different family groups or stuff like that, and like we white people are so separated, and I'm like, but then other times I'm like, well, I'm glad I'm at least not an ugly female. I have some privilege there, and I notice those things, but I'm jealous of other things that other people have. So I don't know. I just see it all and I'm like.
So a couple of things, right? Because I would wonder if folks of color see white folks as being tight as a group.
I don't feel that.
And, well, you're white, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know because we're white, right? But as outsiders, people who are outside of the white culture, I wonder how, like you were saying, someone being Samoan and they seem like a tight, close-knit family, right? And your family.
Go to the park, like their whole barbecues, and they are so happy.
But go to a different picnic and there's all white people having a big barbecue, right? And they look happy.
No, we're trying to avoid each other.
No, I think your family sucks. Could be just you. But the thing is this, right? All families, we have tight ones and not tight ones, right? But what I hear you saying is sometimes what we do is we take individuals, whether it's families or not, and we pump it up to the group level. And then we make stories about that, where there really aren't as many stories. And it is true that some folks might be really tight and other folks that aren't so much. The curious thing is when you said, if I lived in a black neighborhood, I would want to be black.
I would be scared.
You would be...
I would not fit in.
You would be scared if you were a white person living in a black neighborhood.
If I went to China and I had a Chinese friend, she's like, you would be like a movie star. And I'm like, I would be humongous. And I would, because I'm very tall. And she's like, oh no, you'd be so beautiful. And I'm like, no.
So you just want to blend in?
Yes.
Okay. Don't we all want to at times blend in?
Yeah, I'm totally
Okay.
middle school on this.
And so at times we all want to blend in, but some people just can't blend, right? As a white person, I can pretty much find a place that I blend really easy. I can opt in and out of situations. Like I always know there's going to be white people. Now, if I opt in, you know, like I'd have to opt in versus opt out. And what I mean by that is for folks of color who come to work in probably most of the United States that is pretty white dominated, they don't have an option to opt in or out. If they want to make a living, they got to go to work. And they might be like the only, or maybe there's only 2 of them, right? And that's how they feel every single day. And then they are judged because the 2 of them might have lunch together more times than not. Or maybe they have a shared language. Like maybe English is not their first language. And so then they're together and they start speaking a language that they share. And all of a sudden we get paranoid because like, oh, they're talking about me. And it's like, really? You know? And so we make up these stories when at times it doesn't have anything to do with us. Does that make sense? And so a lot of times it's kind of like, I neglected to say about the Blue Lives Matter, okay, which Blue Lives is police officers, law enforcement. And when law enforcement agents put on their badge or put on their uniform, they become a target, correct? Absolutely, they become a target. The difference is they can come and take their uniform off or their badge off, and they're not so much a target. People of color, you can't take your badge off. You live as a target. And it's just not around race. It could be around immigration status. It could be about a lot of things. But as white folks, we can live and opt in to a lot of places. We can stay pretty comfortable. But it's much harder for folks of color. I just want to make sure that this is probably the best visual you will get around the difference between equal versus equitable. Got it? See, it's the same amount of resources because you still got 1, 2, 3 boxes. But this person didn't need it. And so now they all get to see the same thing. That's about privilege. That's about sharing to make sure we all get a place so we can see. That's equitable. You see, treating you equally means everyone here gets a brand new pair of shoes. Those shoes are size 7. Treating you equitably means everyone here gets a brand new pair of shoes, but those shoes would fit. And this is our last one. How many of you, by a show of hands, have ever witnessed someone being mistreated or ridiculed, but you didn't do anything? You didn't do anything. Yeah, right? Why don't we do anything at times? Because I trust you have done stuff too, but I want to focus on how we could do better. Why don't we step in at times? Fear of our own safety. What else? About not being part of the in-group, so that peer pressure. What else? Not your place, mind your own business. Okay? Sometimes we don't know what to say, right? Or we think it's going to escalate, make it worse. So what ends up happening, the whole bystander stuff is the more people there are who witness a particular event, the less likely any one person is to do something. The fewer the people, the higher likelihood somebody will do something. Think of that in your own life, right? You'll say, well, someone else, there's a gazillion people here, somebody will do something. And they're all saying the same thing, and nothing gets done. And so we have to begin to take some responsibility for our own action. And so we need to, now watch this, right? I know you've seen it. This is big. Watch the slide, because here it goes. Did you see that? I act on, maybe you missed it.
Create that? That was beautiful.
Thank you. Actually, my assistant did, but thank you. But it is, like there is action, but the only thing that makes it happen is the I in it, which is really you. So I want to thank you for coming to spend some of your valuable time with us. Again, to my two hosts, thank you very, very much. There's snacks and treats. Help yourself on the way out. And have a fabulous day.